Big Drive Energy Wednesday, December 4th. Can't believe it's already December. We're already to the end of the year almost. We've got a lot of exciting news coming up for golf for 2025. This is when the live rumors start swirling. We'll get into that with Tony Finau and such. But let's start off with our weekend recap. How was your weekend, brother? I know we didn't do well in the pick six. We can talk about that a little bit. Your fantasy team overtook me in first place. We can talk about that as well. But how was your weekend? Straight football and college football's not over, but kind of over. Like the full 50-game slate on a Saturday is over. It's kind of sad.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a little, I would say, indifferent towards the entire 50-game slate. Like, that is, I might be in the minority in saying that I like college football, only the like top 25 matchups, and even sometimes those are dog shit. Like, I like college football when it's an elite team versus an elite team. I don't need to watch Maction. I don't need to watch Kent State against fucking Miami of Ohio. That just doesn't do it for me. So now is when I look forward to the college football. I look forward to the elite teams matching up against one another. But we haven't talked since Thanksgiving. So, I mean, how was your Thanksgiving? I know you've been struggling. I guess we'll save that for your mulligan of the week. But, I mean, my Thanksgiving was good. I'll just hop into my own Thanksgiving real quick.
How was your Thanksgiving? Hey, mine was really good, by the way.
Yeah, thank you. Well, you asked how my weekend was. Like, we didn't just hit one of the biggest national fucking holidays of the year.
American Thanksgiving.
Yeah, well, that's what all the Canadians say. But my girlfriend's family is very, so they're all from like the Philadelphia suburbs, and they won't tell you that. They act like they're not from Philly, and they all have like the Delco accent, and they're all very abrasive and loud. And it is fun, but like, you know, Spencer, you know how much I love to talk, and anybody that listens to this podcast knows how much I love to talk. I'm pretty quiet at Thanksgiving. Like, I kind of take a back seat. I know when to speak. I don't, and it's not that I'm afraid to speak. It's more just like everyone is going at it with each other, and I'm just kind of on the sidelines with a bag of popcorn. Like they all talk a bunch of shit to each other. It is pretty entertaining, to say the least. But then after like 3 or 4 hours, I sat down in the basement, watched football by myself, drank like 6 Coors Lights, and then got called up for dinner, ate some dessert, and we got out of there. So luckily Missy is the one who's like, I can't handle my family anymore. She's not like, oh, can we stay a little bit longer? I'm like, yes, I'm right behind you. Let's take the leftovers. Let's get out. So that now you hit your Thanksgiving, and then we'll talk a little CFB.
Yeah. So that's one of the coolest things. Not one of the coolest. Let me walk that back. One of the fun things about having a kid at new family family gatherings is it's the easiest out in the world. And you're just like, oh, it's nap time, we got to go. Or, oh, you know, we should probably get him going. Or like he cries for like 5 minutes. And I'm like, oh, he's probably getting tired. We should probably get going. But overall, no, Thanksgiving was really good. We went down to Kansas City Wednesday and Thursday, had a great Thanksgiving brunch / lunch Thursday, and then drove up and had Thanksgiving with our mom on actual Thanksgiving on Thursday night. And, you know, a lot of good food. The middle of the day football game was actually more enjoyable than I thought it was going to be. But it's like, I don't know what it is, dude. It just, everything makes it easier like when football's on. When pro football's on, it's like up until you had to wait until 12:30. For us, it was 10:30 that first kickoff. So we were kind of sitting around, you know, watching the kids run around, diddle our thumbs until 10:30. Then right when it got on, it's like everybody's got something to lock in on. So it makes it fun when, you know, you got something on in the background, but then also just hanging out. And Kylie got stuck at the kids' table. I relieved her pretty shortly of sitting in the mini chair, and I look over and our kid's shirt is off like pretty immediately. And then he's not all that interested in the turkey, and then he goes over to the living room and starts playing with toys, like middle of the. He's at that age right now where he's old enough to do what he wants to do, but you also can't tell him what he needs to do. Like, he doesn't fully grasp the concept of exactly what he needs to do. Or if you like say, hey, you shouldn't do this, then he doesn't understand that he shouldn't do it. Like, he's just going to do what he wants to do. But he's also not a potato, or he just sits there and kind of like eats when you feed him and hangs out. He's very strong-minded, bullheaded kid.
It kind of sounds like the way you live your current life. So you and your son are pretty similar. Was Kylie throwing you some daggers from the kids' table? Like, was she fucking pissed at you, or
But she was
did it
hiding
not?
behind the wall. I couldn't see her, so it was no.
Was
But
she hiding behind the wall, or were you hiding behind the wall? Like,
no, the
you're
wall was cutting off the kids' table from the main table, so that made it like there was like an area where you could only see like the edge of the kids' table. But
okay.
overall, yeah, like I was like, all right, I ate kind of quick and then flipped out. But then he was not all that interested in the turkey, and then stomach bug hit all of us, hit him first apparently, and then yeah, it's been a fun, rough couple of 6 days or so.
Yeah, I
Interesting,
mean,
not fun.
yeah, we'll talk about that later because I do want to get into it a little bit. It's pretty fucking funny. But then Friday, a tradition as old as time, Iowa beats Nebraska. It's 9 out of 10 at this point. It's really not a rivalry when one side just wins all the time. It's similar to Ohio State, Michigan, but even worse. So that was a great time. I thought we had no chance of winning that football game. We were down 10-0 at halftime. I was like, we are absolutely cooked, specifically because we could get zero offense going. Our offense was just despicable. And it never got any better. We just turned them over a few times and had some timely field goals. So uh, just another shocking victory, and all these Nebraska fans are coping hard. And then like the next day, or just I'm sorry, a couple days ago, it comes out that like all Nebraska stars are transferring. They're losing their D coordinator. They're losing their D line coach, which is Terrence Knighton, by the way, which I did not realize until they talked about him leaving. Because I was just telling Missy about the legend of pot roast like last week. We were talking about big defensive linemen. I'm like, we used to have a guy on the Broncos whose nickname was Pot Roast because he was so fucking big. And I was like, where's Terrence Knighton now? You know, you always think it's so crazy how athletes in your mind, like once you don't see them on TV, they're not dead, obviously, but they're just dead to you. Like, do they even exist anymore? Are they still living? And so to see these guys doing all these different things is pretty fun. But I think Terrence Knighton sounds like he's heading down to Florida State for the defensive line coach position there, which will be interesting. But I just love nothing more than seeing Nebraska lose, and in that kind of fashion is phenomenal. It just warms my heart.
Yeah, well, that's how you know we're getting old. I think there's a lot of, you see it a lot in your daily life. You're like, oh, we're getting old because, and being giant sports fans and diehards of our teams, you're getting old when players' sons are now on the teams you like. Like, there's juniors of guys that you watch where they're playing college football or in the NFL, and you're like, wow, okay, that's bad. Or when half the guys you watched growing up are now like coaches, GMs, etc. Those are the two sports themed, like, wow, I'm getting really old. And we're at the point now too where, especially during college football, up until you're like 24, 25, you're like, these guys are kids just like me. And now, like, we're full on adults, which I still don't feel like it. I feel like maybe everybody feels this way as they get to 30. I definitely feel like an adult in some aspects, but most of the time I don't. And I'm like cheering for 18, 19-year-old kids who are legitimately 10 years younger than me, two generations younger than me. So that's where you get the feeling of, wow, I'm getting, even NFL, a lot of NFL players are 8, 9, 10 years younger than me. I mean, this is not okay for the program, the
Yeah,
life program.
when players that are your age in the NBA or NFL, they start saying are old or kind of middle aged, that's when you know you have a problem. Like Nikola Jokic is 30 now, and I turned 30 this year, and or I'm sorry, in 3 months, but next year technically. And one of the Lakers fans tweeted, "Jokic is 30. This won't go on much longer." And it made me sad, number one, because the thought of Jokic not playing basketball just makes me sad. But then also I'm like, fuck, like, and realistically, if you look at me, you knew that I wasn't ever participating in any like hard athletic sports in my adult age. When I was younger, sure, I could get down. There is some athleticism still left in this body. I'm just genuinely afraid to even play like a pickup basketball game because I think I could easily tear an ACL or like tear a shoulder or something. Like, have you seen that Tom Segura clip where he fucking tears his ACL and like breaks his arm all in one swift move?
I have not seen the clip, but I heard about it, and that's how I feel. Like, I think I got invited to 2 or 3 Thanksgiving morning football games, which 5 years ago, that was my peak. That was like, yep, I'm doing this. I'm gonna go
You
out there
probably
and
ripped the shirt off in the middle of Thanksgiving morning, like
I'm
show
gonna go
off
out
the
there
six
and
pack.
Justin Jefferson these fools, just run around, be wide open on routes, make catches. And now I'm like luckily I had multiple excuses and I was in town to be able to play in these. But overall, I'm like, just the thought of that would be a 3 to 4 day recovery, and that's not including how hurt I already am and broken down like an old
I
car on
mean,
the side
3
of
to
the
4
road.
days or 3 to 4 months, depending on how severe it is. So, yes, our age is getting alarming. Is there anything else? Obviously, another fun weekend of NFL football. Do we want to touch on the Broncos right now? Like, is that this portion? Is that what we do here?
Yeah, we can talk about the Broncos. Monday Night Football is good to have football back in Denver in prime time, and it was weird because like it started out, we did the tailgate, and it started out light, and then by the end of it, it was completely pitch black, and I don't think we've done that, and as long as I've been around, like 3 or 4 years, we haven't had, because the only other primetime games have been like September, October, so it's still light into the start of the game, but it was the Broncos and their ownership did an incredible job of the presentation of the game, the halftime show, the fireworks. Although it was funny because I think they released the fireworks a little too late in like going into the second half, I want to say, because the Browns were running a full-on play as the fireworks were going. And so it wasn't quite the timing of that Georgia helmet slap firework touchdown. It was a little delayed. So the Browns were like running a 5-yard, just halfback carry, and it's like boom, boom, and they go up like next to each other out throughout the whole stadium. And yeah, so they definitely weren't prepared for the quickness of them running a play, but it was just the production value of the halftime show was, halftime shows can be, to the person performing them, it's like one of the most important days of their life, whether it's an NBA game, an NHL game, baseball game, singing the national anthem or a 7th inning stretch, whatever. But it was one of the first ones in a long time where I was enjoying it and glad that I sat in my seat through it and didn't need to go get like that's cocktail time. If you're a true football fan, you're not meandering around unless the bathroom is really calling your name. You're not meandering around during the game. And so that's usually cocktail time. But I had just hit the bathroom. I was good on the cocktails, plenty lubed up from the first half in the tailgate. So I was like, wow, I'm just going to sit and watch this. And it ended up being really good. Like new ownership, and I'm seeing that more the older I get. Like when you have legit rich owners and they don't want to skimp on, they obviously in salary cap sports, they can only pay the players what they can pay the players, but there's so many other things they can do around the facilities and the presentation of a game and the team and the jerseys. And ownership has done a really good job, and it's cool to see, along with having a good football team, which is, icing on the cake.
Yeah, as I've gotten older, like you said, I've realized how much ownership, like a trickle down effect of ownership, into a organization has to do with the success of the team, which we've seen firsthand after this whole Pat Bowlen debacle, the last decade since we won that Super Bowl. But then also just how much coaching matters. And Sean Payton is the one dude that the owners can pay whatever they want. They can pay their coaching staff whatever they want. And Sean Payton makes more than probably over half of our team. If he probably makes more than everybody, but like what, maybe a couple of like 2 or 3 players.
Yeah, I think he
I
makes
don't even
18
know if
million a year. So
I don't even know if there's a single, maybe there's 3 guys on the Broncos that make more than that. Um, so, but well deserved after we've seen him do what he's done this year. I want to talk about this primetime action because, like you said, it's been a while since the Broncos have played like a Monday night, a standalone game. At least they've played a Thursday night, but Thursday night's just like a redheaded stepchild. It's just everybody watches because it's still a weekday, and they want to watch the NFL because there's nothing else on. But Monday night is truly like a matchup that everybody tunes into. Usually it's good teams. And I legitimately did not have an appetite to eat before the game because it didn't kick off till like 8:15. I really didn't even want to eat dinner because I wasn't like, I don't have super high expectations for this team. So I wasn't like, they better win. It was more of just the nerves of us being exposed on national television for the world to see, and like getting blown out. Because if you've been a Broncos fan over the last decade, we've been in our whole lives, but you've just kind of been conditioned to think that they're going to let you down whenever they possibly can. So I was definitely a little nervous before that game, but then Bo slinging it all over the yard, Jameis Winston slinging it. It was honestly the most captivating Monday Night Football game I've watched probably all season. It was a fun football game, and the Broncos coming out on top was a little bit of a cherry, a little icing on the cake, but it was just a really fun watch. And I think we can officially say the Broncos are back, knock on wood. And I just, it's so foreign. It's so weird. I've stopped caring about basketball and hockey. I haven't stopped caring, but they're definitely on the back burner now that we have a football team that's worth a fuck once again. The last few years I've been so into hockey, so into basketball that I care about football, but I almost have to emotionally remove myself. Now my emotional bucket is overflowing because it's like probably 70% Broncos, 20% Nuggets, 20% Avs. And I just don't have enough capacity to care about all these teams as much as I possibly can.
Yeah, and Avs and Nuggets have gotten to the let's wait for the playoffs type of feel, which has really bummed me out. Like I have to say, just being a fan of a team that has won titles the last two of the last 3 years, it's a very privileged place to be. It's not Boston level, but it's pretty close up there in terms of like that next tier of how many championships we've seen. And it bums me out for a couple reasons. One of them hit me this morning where I was like, you're watching the Nuggets or Avs or your team, and you know that you saw your team win a title, and you just see that they're not that anymore, or they like what that team was and they had it, and now you're like, don't know if they have it anymore. And they still have some of the same players on both of the teams, and excitement around like they're not bottom feeders, they're not going to be top of the draft, like they're still making the playoffs. But knowing how everything fell into place to actually win a championship and then seeing what your team is now almost makes it like sad. And with the Broncos, it's the opposite, where we saw what they did winning a championship, going getting Peyton Manning, having 3 or 4 years of just continued success. And then they fell to basically the sewer. We're in the bottom for 4 or 5, 6 years, and then kind of starting to try to grow, and then fell back to the bottom, and now seem like they're on the right path and at least a team that will compete in the future. But knowing how hard it is and how these teams, like even today, I was thinking about the Broncos roster now, and I was like, oh, I'm excited for the future. But then I know there's going to be certain guys that are on this team that have built an excitement for the franchise that won't be around because they can't, you get to the point where, yes, we have a rookie quarterback where you cannot pay them for 3 or 4 years what they're normally worth. But at some point, you're going to have to pay him. So you want to try to, take on this window when you've got a rookie quarterback. And it's like, I'm already getting sad for unless you win a title, it's like sad to think about what happens if they don't. And in the Broncos or Nuggets and Avs case, it's almost sad to think about if they don't win one again. Like winning one, I will give a team a 10-year pass. But at the same time, you're going to look back in 10 years, we'll be 40 and 39 and be like, oh, they should have definitely won at least one more, each of the teams, when they're that dominant.
Yeah, I mean, that makes me sick to even think about, but it is the classic, like everything in life, you don't know what you have until it's gone. And it definitely makes you think back to when the Nuggets won the NBA championship. You felt like it came so easy. everything felt so easy. It was like there really wasn't a doubt in my mind that after we beat, was it the Suns in the second round, that we were going to win the championship. And and now it just feels so hard. Like you said, it's weird going through that stage where you have such high expectations that they can't even exceed your expectations at this point. They can only meet them. But I will say that our future on the Nuggets is at least worth watching the games, because what do we have them over 51 and a half?
52 and a half.
Ooh, that's looking like a fucking tall task now. I would love to see us get fully healthy, and I guess we kind of are now with Aaron Gordon back playing full minutes, and it is just a sketchy fucking proposition at this point. But we have enough to make stuff move. You know, it's not a $50 or $100 bet; it's bigger than that. So definitely in it for the long haul. Going to watch it. NBA and NHL don't get enough credit for carrying February and into March when there's nothing else. Football's over. You're waiting for the March Madness, and you're just grasping. You're like, what the fuck else is there on TV? What can I watch? That's when the NBA, NHL really jump in. So I'm not concerned. Like you said, I just want to wait until later this season when hopefully they sort their shit out. And the Broncos. Okay, just real quick, and then we'll move to Scheffy of the week. Give me, having seen what you've seen from the Broncos this season, what do you think their ceiling is this year?
I think their ceiling is a playoff win, I think, is the ceiling.
Okay. Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think if we have to go into Buffalo, but then again, I don't trust Buffalo. Like, they haven't shown anything super special. Obviously, Josh Allen's having a fantastic year, but I actually already told Missy, I started, like, my gears started working, and I was like, if the Broncos are playing in Buffalo, I'm 100% driving up there, and I'm going to that game. And she was like, fucking have fun, because I'm not coming with you. It was right when we were watching the Sunday night Bills Niners, and it was 2 feet of snow. She's like, you're out of your fucking mind if you think I'm going up to Buffalo to sit in that to watch the Broncos. I was like, okay, well, it might be a solo fucking road trip then. But if the Broncos do play in Buffalo, I will be there. No questions asked.
Yeah, you could get two of the potential matchups really close to you, or close enough. If it's at Buffalo or at the Steelers, that could be, you could have like a pretty close proximity for you to go to either of those two playoff games.
I mean, the Steelers, it's like a 7-hour drive. I guess I could fly in because it's like an hour flight. It's one of those weird, like, takes hardly anything to actually fly there, but then the drive is all through like the middle of Pennsylvania BFE. So I would consider flying into Pittsburgh as well. And how fucking satisfying would it be to go into Pittsburgh and beat Russell Wilson with a rookie quarterback the year after we let him walk with his salary cap still strapped to our backs? Like, that would be like my Super Bowl. I would not care what happened after that. That would be our Super Bowl.
Yeah, 100%. All right, let's hop to our Sheffy of the week this week. This one hurts to give out. We were trying to find some arrests, and I think we found one last week, but not necessarily the level of a Sheffy of the week. And we have to give this one to Jerry Jeudy. Monday Night Football, he came and balled out. Levi Wallace should be in witness protection program after, like, I think everybody really realized this week how good Riley Moss is. Get better soon. Bye week. Hopefully he's back for the Colts game in a couple weeks here in Denver. But Jerry Jeudy had 9 catches, 235 yards, and a touchdown. Their first play of the game, they just schemed really well to get him wide open and get him on our Levi Wallace, who I don't even want to like say that name more than 3 or 4 times, but absolutely tragic day for him. When we started to pull away in the second half, or so I thought we were going to, and got the 11-point lead, next play is a 70-yard bomb to Jeudy and Jeudy was loving it. And yes, it's unfortunate that it happened to us and here, but I do respect him coming into Denver and just having a game. Like, he's always been a talker and always, I'm open all the time, blah, blah, blah. And it's unfortunate that we still don't have him, in my opinion. I know a lot of people will fight back on that. Like, I think Jerry Jeudy would have been a great addition to this offense with where Bo Nix is, but he's gone, so we got to forget about it. But coming back here and setting a Browns receiving record for a game, I'm like 2% happy for the guy. I'll be happy. It was a dominant performance from a wide receiver position. Jameis was chucking it all around the yard, but he, like you said in your tweet, I think like all he cared about was his numbers, didn't care about actually winning the game, and so it kind of worked out well for him. He's like, well, I played well. He's one of those I played well type of guys.
1000%. And I appreciate the love on Twitter because I think that got like 2 likes. Maybe we bring that segment back, that tweets that got no love. But I was like 1000%. Jerry Jeudy could give a fuck if they were losing by 50, as long as he had the biggest receiving day. And that's the other problem that I just have with athletes in general, is in a situation like Jerry Jeudy's, all the credit, like he was phenomenal. He was great. Jameis Winston was slinging it all over the fucking yard. But Jerry Jeudy was bad for the Broncos. I felt like he dropped more passes than he caught. He was a problem in the locker room. He got arrested a few times. So like, why, I don't understand why he can, and I guess all athletes just need to build some sort of chip on their shoulder to compete. But why should he be annoyed at the Broncos for letting him walk and like having vengeance towards us and like wanting to get revenge on the Broncos for letting him go when the Browns overpaid the fuck out of him? That contract's a joke. I mean, it's starting to look better now that he's actually catching the football, but there's no point in paying that guy for the Broncos $15 million when he had shown us absolutely nothing. So it's kind of like one of those, who broke up with who in the relationship type thing where he's like, well, yeah, but I wanted out anyway. It's like, oh, okay, well, she broke up with me, but I didn't want to date her anymore. So I don't know. It just didn't make a whole lot of sense to me that he was. I get why you wanted to come back into Denver and ball out, no question. But also, you can't be annoyed at the Broncos for moving on from you when you were objectively complete ass your entire tenure with the Broncos. So that bugged me a little. That's more what bugged me than anything is, if he would have looked like that with the Broncos and we let him walk, I would root for the guy. I'd be like, congrats, man. Some team saw your value, but there was no value to see, the first, 3 or 4 years the Broncos had him. And now all of a sudden he actually turns into an NFL wide receiver that has hands on the end of his fucking arms. And he acts like it was our fault that we let him walk. Like, it just, I'm sorry, that didn't make any sense.
Yeah. I feel like there is a little bit of, from players, it's more towards the fan base than the coaching staff and the team. The team did what they thought was good for him, but like fan bases can be extremely toxic, as we know. The Broncos fan base is pretty up there in terms of toxicity, and I feel like all this.
Did you see Jeudy and Sean Payton showing love after? Like, Jeudy walked over to Sean Payton with the biggest smile on his face, and it's like, dude, you just lost a football game. If you actually gave a fuck about your football team, you wouldn't be walking over grinning ear to ear no matter what your stats are. If you had one catch for 6 yards and you guys won the game, he would have been fucking throwing a fit, probably stomping around, not even going to shake people's hands. So that's where I have an issue with it.
Yeah, he's definitely a diva. Wide receivers just have that quality about them. So I don't think it's ever going to go away. All right, let's hop into some golf talk for this week. Once again, in mid-December here, we got the Hero World Challenge coming up this weekend. Tiger Woods hosted event, but we had some news, which has been, I did a little bit more research on this, and it sounds like it's not as black and white as it appeared. But so we had a tweet from Nuclear Golf regarding Tony Finau, and it says, #speculation. Tony Finau has been replaced in the Hero World Challenge by Stepp Straka, who has been named a tournament exemption. Justin Thomas, who was just announced by TW as an exemption, takes a regular spot in the field. The timing is interesting as some of the LIV circles have linked Finau to possibly being one of the names jumping ship for 2025. And I did a little bit more research on this, actually, right? We've been talking about this for a couple days, thinking about this topic and just the generality of, Tony Finau is a fan favorite on the PGA Tour. Obviously, if you are pretty in tune with the golf world, you've seen some of the not so good headlines about Tony Finau the past couple of weeks and months. We talked about it on this pod of stealing money or taking money and that he promised to repay and not doing that. I did see, though, that he came out and said the rumors were quote unquote false. And then his wife posted a TikTok that was a little bit more cryptic.
Yeah, there we go.
And so she said something about her TikTok was like, oh, I'm just trying to live and this and that, and not live like LIVE. That was not as it intended to come out. But, and then she's like, but then there's all this drama. And it was like not her sound, it was someone else's sound. And then the drama, she pans over to Tony, who's like in a swimsuit near the pool. And she said, and this is the drama. So, but apparently, according to Tony Finau, he had knee surgery. So that's why he's not playing in this event. So do you think it's just, because I don't think no matter what, until a guy actually has a live contract and goes, I have gotten into the point with, the NIL, the portal, all this, the coaches. I don't care what anybody says. I really don't. I'm staying. I'm keeping my feet here. This is where I'm comfortable. Like, I don't believe any of that until he actually starts on the PGA Tour next year or doesn't.
Oh, no, I'm 100% in the same boat as you. There's been multiple. We've seen it from college football coaches. We've seen it in every profession. You're not leaving this job until you get a better offer somewhere else. And all of a sudden, material change, fucking whatever the CEO of the PIF slides a piece of paper in front of Tony that's got like 8 commas on it. And Tony's like, oh shit, okay, well, maybe this is a material change, like, and realistically, give me your number that you think Tony would move on from the PGA Tour. Cause I think his career earnings are somewhere in the $60 million range on the PGA Tour. So I would say between that and sponsors, he's probably made $125 million in his career, which is a significant amount. But what do you think LIV would have to offer him in order to jump? Like, what is the bare minimum?
I think it'd be $75 to $100 million deal would be about because they didn't say what they got for what Bryson got or what Brooks got. I mean, it was all reported, but we don't know the exact numbers on either of those two guys. I think he's not at that level. He's not a major champion, not a media mogul like Bryson DeChambeau is, and not quite the personality, but he's one of the guys where just his general personality, I think, changes the what's the word I'm looking for? It changes the perception of live golfers. Because right now, honestly, live golfers are a lot of guys that people think just couldn't cut it on the PGA Tour anymore, the Phil Mickelsons, whatever. But then there's also, the second they go, there's like this black sheep type of nature to them where you're like, oh, that guy's an asshole anyways. We don't care. He's not meant for the PGA Tour. The PGA Tour is obviously having this. If everybody knew exactly what went on, they wouldn't have the moral high ground. But like when somebody else digs a tunnel below you, you immediately have moral high ground. And that's kind of what LIV did. Not saying everything they do is above board or whatever. We could get into that whole circle
that was
of shit.
Deep, man. Where'd you get that?
I just made that up, actually. Are you proud of me for that?
Yeah, but I'm actually impressed.
Yeah, so the PGA Tour is acting like they're the high ground just because they're put on that with the way everybody looks at LIV. But Tony Finau is one of the guys where if you just see him for the on-course guy, you saw him in full swing, you see his cool, his family's at a lot of the tournaments. He's got like 5 or 6 kids. He's teaching his son how to golf. All that kind of stuff would be a semi-different personality than your Dustin Johnsons and Brooks Koepkas, and Bryson's kind of an anomaly in general. But the other guys that went there, they're like, okay, they're not winning a ton on the PGA Tour anymore. Maybe they just want to go over here and take the money and take the easy route. Like Jon Rahm, I feel like everybody really liked him, and he turned into kind of a heel when he went over there to LIV Golf. So it's kind of an interesting personality to have. Now, obviously, there's 2 ways to look at Tony. He is being sued for $20 million by his original sponsor. But like the first comment on this tweet was, well, I'm not winning a major anyways. So, and it has like a bunch of likes. So it's, that's the feeling a lot of people get is like, okay, I can't win anymore here. I can't compete anymore here. And ironically, he's probably got the official world golf ranking points to play in the majors for the next at least 1 or 2 years. And so he'll still do that. Like, that's a thing.
I mean, if Tony went to LIV, his first move would be to look around and be like, y'all got any of those opens at Mayakoba? Y'all got any of those Mexico Opens or the Puerto Rican Open that I can go cash an easy victory on. That's just a joke for our buddy Serbo, because I always mess with him and say that Tony Finau can't win anything but a lower level PGA Tour event, which he historically has only done for the most part. But I think Tony, like you said, would definitely, when you're talking about morals, and it's kind of hard to pick and like the PGA Tour and professional golfers are not that open. Like, we don't know that much about their lives, but Tony Finau would definitely be like the most openly religious and like morality police to go, and he's never been that guy. Like, he's very chill. I'm talking more about like what he believes in and stuff like that. I feel like his people would definitely have a problem with that if he did go to LIV. But like you said too, it's a totally different personality, where Brooks has been a good heel, Phil's been a good heel, Bryson even went through his heel phase. There's a lot of guys that when, Tyrrell's been a heel, John Rahm turned into a heel. There's really been no one on LIV where everybody looked at him and they're like, you know what, I'm happy for that guy. Everybody is constantly hated on everyone that's gone to LIV. So if Tony were to jump, which it sounds like he's not going to, but jury's still out, I think Tony would be the first guy that people would be like, I can't hate that dude no matter what. But I could be wrong, because people love to move the goalposts for their expectations of professional sports and what people should do with their own personal lives based on watching them on TV. So I wouldn't blame people for stooping lower, because we've seen it a million times over. But I would personally, if Tony was happier going to LIV, I think that would be an equitable thing for him. Obviously, it'd make him a shitload of money, but it would also it would bolster the LIV Tour even further. And I don't know if we didn't have this on our rundown, but the DP World Tour and the LIV Tour are kind of looking like they're going to partner. Like, it's kind of, there's a little bit of foreshadowing based on their schedules.
I was trying to find that. I know you sent that to me, or like touch on that a little bit, because it seems very interesting the way the schedules are setting up.
Yeah, so last year the DP World Tour and the LIV Tour's tournament schedules almost completely overlapped. I think there was maybe only 1 week of the year where LIV played and the DP World Tour didn't play, and vice versa. And now the DP World Tour schedule, they only overlap 1 week out of all the weeks of the LIV Tour schedule. So it feels like the DP World Tour, and with reinstatements of guys like Tyrrell Hatton and some of the more prominent John Rahm, some of the more prominent European guys, it really does feel like the DP World Tour and the LIV Tour are closer than the PGA Tour and the LIV Tour, because they've already kind of, the scheduling is one of the biggest things. Obviously, how would you partner with a different tour if your schedules overlap? So that wouldn't make very much sense at all. But it definitely arises an interesting possible happening by the end of this year, and I wonder maybe if we can get our boy back on sometime in the next few weeks, if he's not too busy, to see if they've mentioned anything, if the DP World Tour has mentioned anything about, what happens with the LIV guys and possibly having some sort of LIV status and things like that, or whatever. So it would be very interesting to see. And honestly, the LIV Tour and the DP World Tour might be better partners anyway, because the LIV Tour is very international. The DP World Tour is very international. I think, what did LIV play? 2 or 3 times, maybe 4 in America, but not overall a significant amount. They mostly were playing in other countries. So I think that would be a lot of fun if the DP World Tour and the LIV Tour. And once again, I said it a couple weeks ago, I'll say it again. I think the DP World Tour this next year, and until the PGA Tour figures their shit out, I think it's still a better watch. I was watching it this morning. I was watching the Asian Tour this morning. I still think it's a better watch. And Tyrrell Hatton, Abram Anser, Dean Burmeister, all these guys were playing in this Asian Tour event this morning. So it's just a better quality watch overall in my mind.
Yeah, you're a sicko for your watching the Asian Tour on a Wednesday morning, but that's why we love you. Real quick, yeah, the LIV golf schedule, first it starts in February. in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, and then goes to Australia, Hong Kong, Singapore, Korea. Then comes to America for Dallas at Merido, which is, I think, one of Scheffler, like a place that Scheffler plays a fair amount.
I think that's a place that Spieth plays. A lot of those guys in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, I think, play out of.
And then Andalusia in Spain, UK.
Andalusia, you fucked that up last time. It's not that hard.
Andalusia. Chia, like chia pet.
Okay.
Guarantee that's how it is. You're going very American with that, so apologies to any of our listeners outside of America. Then the UK, Chicago, and Indianapolis right now are the last two that they have announced through August.
Are they having Chicago at the Muni fucking public course again?
Bolingbrook, is that where it was last year?
Yeah.
That's where it is this year, yeah.
Oh my god, dude. That is absolutely insane. I have no idea how that golf course got that tournament, because I saw people on TikTok posting like the week after it was a public round. There's people out there in fucking cargo shorts and stuff playing the week after the LIV individual event, and it just blows my mind. But it's fucking hilarious.
Yeah. All right. Let's move on to, and by the way, if you're listening to this and think we're idiots, as of like 2 minutes ago, Nuclear Golf just tweeted that Tony Finau's not leaving. He won't be going to LIV.
Hey, I tweeted that link over an hour ago before the pod started. So
I understand. I'm just saying, like, I'm gonna be up on the live moment and said they're not.
The live moment was an hour ago.
Yeah, well, that's fine. I'm just telling you what he's saying now. But I'm still sticking to my fact that I'm not believing it. Like, I'm not gonna believe what he necessarily says, until it's confirmed whether he's playing in the Century Tournament Champions or he starts in February in Saraya or whatever. You just never know. Real quick, we'll move on to the match. So the Crypto.com match between Bryson and Brooks versus Rory and Scotty, I think really good for the heel, non-heel matchups, like the golf fans just in general. These, I know they've, like, I don't know how to think about these. Like, we have a very different view on the game of golf and the competitiveness of it and the what it looks like as it's presented to the public. We're not like your typical fun weekend golfer that just occasionally watches the PGA Tour when majors are on. So I don't know how much interest this has to them. I mean, I know for us, it's at least something. It's in here in a couple weeks in December. Really cool matchup of players. It's obviously going to be great presentation-wise because of the way that they do the mic'd up and having the players talk, and overall cool.
Have you seen how much they're getting paid?
That's what I was just going to get into. So they're getting paid $10 million in crypto. So $10+ million in crypto. So I know they're going to be juiced up for it. But does it still feel a little circusy to you, or no? Do you think it's going to be like more like? Do you think what number's enough to get, like? I think that's a big enough number to get these guys hyped up for it and actually, like, not like they're doing some bullshit like media appearance almost, is what kind of these have felt like in some cases.
No, I mean, if $10 million doesn't move the fucking needle for you, you need to check your pulse, because you got to be a billionaire if that doesn't matter to you. Otherwise, even if you're worth, call it 100 million, that's 10% of your net worth. That is pretty large. That is worth getting up for. But yeah, I get what you're saying about how it definitely feels a little media appearance, like feels like an exhibition. It just doesn't feel that much more like tournament style. But I will say that I'm looking forward to it. And luckily, I mean, for these guys, luckily Sam Bankman-Fried isn't putting this shit on. It's not the FTX fucking showdown, because that crypto would be gone before it even hit their accounts. It'd be in some fucking I don't even know, Bohemian Island. Is that how you? I don't even know. That guy's in jail now. But luckily, it's Crypto.com and not a FTX. I thought that was funny, and you really didn't like that, so thank you for that. But yeah, I'm gonna watch this shit. It's a great competitive round of golf, and I want to see Rory choke one more time. I want to see. and I know I turned it around a few weeks ago. I said Rory's going to win a major, but I would love to see Bryson and Brooks. It's the anti-hero. It's the villains that you didn't know you needed. It's Brooks, and Bryson's not a villain by any means, but you have goody two shoes Scotty Scheffler, and then face of the PGA Tour Rory McIlroy against the absolute nerd hitting balls over his house Bryson DeChambeau, and doesn't give a fuck about golf Brooks Koepka against each other. So obviously the best outcome would be for Brooks and for Bryson to come out victorious, because that would just be the feather in the cap for LIV during this whole situation.
Yeah, exactly. And it's two personalities that you actually want to watch too. I feel like some of these they've given some, whether they're good at golf or not is great, but the personality part of it, and that the fact that you don't hear a lot from these guys, like you don't hear a lot from a Scotty Scheffler. Rory speaks out here and there, and then having Brooks and Bryson, you see a lot of Bryson on YouTube, but Brooks is the guy that you more see talking, like in things, and he was in full swing. So that obviously helped his popularity versus what it was. But I think like a mid-December match like this, where golf is kind of, off of most people's radar, and especially in the pro level, will make for a really fun watch, especially hearing them mic'd up and going for $10 million. I think that's a good prize purse, and I think it'll be worth a watch for sure.
How awesome would it be if Bryson like calls Brooks over and he goes, "Do you think that the air pressure is like this right now? Or do you think this is a hip high sand wedge? Or what do you like?" Just starts going in about some stats on Brooks, and Brooks is like, "Yo, look at that rocket over there in the crowd following us."
Dude, that's exactly where I was going to go. Brooks is like, "Do you see the red dress behind the green about 8:00?"
Yeah. And Bryson's like, "Bro, do you think the dew point is 72 degrees right now? Like, how many RPMs is my ball going to spin?" And Brooks is like, "Get me the fuck off this golf course." He's like, I already got a fucking private room at the Aria set up. He's like, "I got the high limit fucking craps table already reserved for myself. I don't give a shit." They're playing in Vegas, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, I just want to make sure. Yeah, Brooks, his don't give a fuck mentality, and then Bryson's exact opposite mentality, where he cares about everything so much, just makes them. It's similar to what was that movie with Will Ferrell and Mark Wahlberg, The Other Guys.
Oh, yeah.
Like Bryson is 100% Will Ferrell, and Brooks is 100% Mark Wahlberg. It just makes for a perfect combination. I can't wait to. I just want them to exchange thoughts with each other on the golf course, because the simplicity and the difference of the way they communicate with their caddies and probably with each other. And we've dealt with that our entire golfing lives. You play with guys in a member guest, and the one guy is like, "Oh, dude, I didn't drink last night. I'm fucking so dialed. I was practicing on the putting green until 10 p.m. until it got dark." And the other guy's like, "Yeah, I got absolutely shit-faced." And it's usually the guy who cares less who ends up playing better. So we'll see how that pans out for the Bryson Brooks combo. But
Yeah,
I will also say, what?
I was gonna say we've had a few of those events where that's the both of us for sure.
But usually we both just end up getting shit-faced. That's not one of us really cares either way. But I will say, if you had to pick a tryhard out of Rory or Scotty, who would it be? Because I think it's Rory.
Oh, it's 100% Rory. Scotty's
Okay.
doing this like to get his, like Rory wants to win this to put some respect back on his name that 10-year-old kids have never seen him win a major.
Scotty's probably like, "I'm just going to donate this to my church if I win it. I don't need the money. It's Christmas time." Scotty's just truly a good dude. So I could see him like his church is like, "What do we do with 12 Bitcoins?" Like what are we doing here? I don't know what the fuck to do with this, but that would be pretty funny.
Yeah, well, actually so they're officially winning, since it's crypto.com. They're winning multi-million-dollar prizes in CRO Chronos, which is the native token of crypto.com. This marks the first instance of a major sports competition offering a prize purse entirely in cryptocurrency. Quote from Marzalik says, this tournament demonstrates the potential of cryptocurrency to reshape the sports and entertainment industries. So
I mean,
maybe,
that was the start of Sam Bankman-Fried's downfall, because he created his own coin and everybody just shit pumped that. So now crypto.com is pushing their own coin. It sounds like it could be the beginning of the end for them. But who knows? Honestly, I am not a crypto guy at all, but look at the similarities. They're sponsoring the fucking Lakers stadium, whatever, I forget what it used to be called. What's
Staples.
goddamn Staples Center? Thank you. Like FTX was sponsoring the Heat arena. Now they're flaunting their money, throwing around their own coin. We'll see how funny would that be if like their coin just pumped the day that it was talked about and then just absolutely bottomed out, and they have this whole investigation. I could be onto something here. We'll bring the rumors back in the week after. We'll discuss it like Christmas week.
Yeah, exactly. All right, we got a couple stories to get to here before we get to Mulligan of the Week. Good news from the PGA Tour. They're doing something smart. You tweeted about it. They're tapping Kevin Kisner for the lead golf analyst role in 2025. It sounds like he's still going to be in a limited capacity on the PGA Tour, but he'll be at the U.S. Open, the Players, the Open Championship. And Kisner will be competing in the TGL in the first part of next year, which we talked about a while ago. Then it flamed out because the whole building went down to shit, and a hurricane is now being built back up. And I've seen a few videos. I saw one of Billy Horschel seeing what it's like. So that'll be an interesting new wrinkle to golf, and seeing these guys compete in that. But
the big bad wolf fucking blew their tent down.
But they're built it back up. Small setback for a big comeback. The best news is that the lead analyst Paul Azinger will not be back on PGA Tour booths. He'll be working the PGA Tour Champions in 2025. So
Thank God.
that's good news for golf. And of course, they'll still have Brad Faxon, Kurt Byram, Steve Sands, Terry Gannon, and Smiley Kaufman, among others. But basically, Kisner's going to be focused on NBC coverage on the weekend of the biggest tournaments. So we're going to get Kiz for all the biggest tournaments, because I think, knowing Kevin Kisner and knowing who he is when I say deeper level, we're not like buddies with the guy, but like seeing him more on social media as compared to like 40, 50-year-old people that maybe aren't on social media and see what Kisner brings. I think it brings a little bit more of just a funny, like, yes, this golf is very serious, and you're going to have a play-by-play guy that's taking it a little more serious, but then Kisner's just going to drop these random fun facts in there, and you're going to be like, oh, that's like that might catch somebody's eye that's watching it, at their buddy's house or at a bar or something like that. Like, oh, that's actually kind of something I'd listen to versus, oh, he hits, you always give me shit for listening to the Masters or whatever on the radio, because I just don't want to miss anything when that shit's going on if I'm in my car. And that's what it is. It's like, oh, hits the putt. It's driving towards the hole. Oh, missed it. You don't want that in golf. You want like actual play, former current player talking about the conditions or talking about what he'd do, or just being more comical about the whole thing.
Well, yeah, 100%. I mean, Kiz is one of the best personalities in golf. Real quick question for you. He's played 41 events the last 2 years. How many made cuts?
Kiz?
Yeah.
16.
14.
How
many top 10s?
0.
0.
No.
You're correct.
Okay. I was going to give him
0.
1.
So he's had a rough last couple of years. He's like, it feels like it's time to make the jump. We knew he was struggling a little bit with his swing last year, but yeah, he's going to make it for a generation of guys in their 20s and 30s. He's going to make it watchable, where you're not having the broadcast on mute the entire time because it's just on, you can't listen to it, so it's definitely a right move on their part, and hopefully they keep going younger. Like Johnson Wagner, absolute electric factory. They need to have him out there more. So I like to see them getting younger. It's not the old boys commentator booth anymore.
100%. Last thing before we get to Mulligan of the Week, Tiger Woods obviously had a press conference this week because he's the host of the Hero World Challenge. A lot of great memes came out from that. The one you sent us, it was like
night 2 of the bachelor party, and it's like, I cannot compete at the level that I was once capable of, or something like that.
Yeah, and so Tiger was very candid about his level of golf right now, and I think the tough thing is like, you know, we're never going to see it again because he's at this point where he's older. Like Tiger Woods, even playing a full PGA Tour schedule right now, let's just say he was where he's at on his level, he'd probably still get he'd probably have a top 75 FedEx Cup points career or a year on the PGA Tour playing not up to par. But his level of par is so different than anyone else that has ever seen. And Scotty may be reaching that here with another 5 years of dominance that he's had. But his level, and I truly kind of respect this about Tiger. He doesn't want to go to a tournament to, in Kevin Kisner's words, make a lot to be in the top 20. He legitimately can't stand not winning events. And he won them for so long and won almost every event he played in for a 3-year stretch that he cannot go to a tournament and not feel like he should win the event. So we won't see him as much anymore, which is unfortunate. It's fortunate for the fact that he knows it and won't be playing in a ton of these where he just dominates the media coverage and all the other stories go to the wayside. I think that's the part I'm excited for. But seeing him out there is just fun. And I think if he could deal with being a top 40, he's still good enough to do that. And I think that's just impressive in itself, really, which you don't realize if you don't know that, the history of Tiger Woods or how dominant he was in the early 2000s.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think Tiger has any interest in being, the sixth guy off the bench on a team that he once led in scoring and took to a championship. So Tiger is not interested in, and in all honesty, remember that one year he came back and it was too early at the Waste Management and he shanked 4 or 5 chips and just absolutely pissed down his leg. And everyone was like, what's going on? Did somebody body swap with Tiger Woods? So I feel like at that point, he's not going to go out and embarrass himself. Don't tarnish your legacy. Let people remember you as the best there ever was or second best, depending on who you talk to. And just leave it at that. Just be happy with it.
Yeah, exactly. Don't that's if Peyton Manning would have came back after the Super Bowl year with what he was that whole year and tried to play again. Just know when it's your time to be cooked and he's cooked. I do hope we see him in some majors and stuff again, where he can really focus on 1 or 2 events a year and try to compete because it's fun. But
he should have walked off that last Masters win and just said, I'm never playing again. Just John Elway it right off into the sunset. I'm dead ass serious. He should have.
In hindsight, yes. In hindsight, he should have, but he's too big of a competitor. And I think golf is a sport where, yes, it's tough on your body and walking a ton, but you're not getting bludgeoned by a bunch of 23-year-olds with, missile helmets. You're playing golf, so it's
Tiger's getting bludgeoned by 23-year-olds. It's just not football players.
Yes. All right. On that note, we're going to finish this episode up with Mulligan of the Week. I'll start. My mulligan of the week is kind of just my week. Between, getting sick and having this stomach issue, I puked for the first time in years yesterday. It wasn't great. I don't like to throw up. I'm not a fan of it. And number 2, my lower back, I'm debilitated right now. I can barely walk. It's rough. It's going to be a lot of the that noise. That's what I've been making a lot lately. I've been trying to stretch it out. Hopefully it's just a couple days and it goes away, but it was kind of already hurting on Sunday, Monday. And then Monday when I was working, I was moving a lot of cases of beer, moving around. And then I woke up Tuesday morning and was like, oh, I really can't walk. So it's been a real treat. This is 30, I guess.
I feel like you're keeping something from the good people of this podcast. Didn't you also shit your pants yesterday?
Oh, well, we really don't have to go into that. I mean, it wasn't a full, I did maybe get to a point where I wasn't sure if I had just farted or not, but
I heard a story of you crawling on your hands and knees to the bathroom.
No, that's an inaccurate story. And it might have been me crawling because my back hurts so bad, but that's
what I mean.
Your misinformation you got. Let's get on to your mulligan of the week, for fuck's sake.
Oh, fuck, dude. I literally picturing you doing that makes me just want to crumble in laughter. So I put 2 of my favorite shirts in the wash 2 days ago, and I put them in with this new red t-shirt that I got from J. Crew. It's a holiday, cool Christmas t-shirt. And I've never once in my life, have you ever separated your lights from your darks in laundry?
Since I've been doing my own laundry in college, no. Since college, no. Never once.
Correct.
Except there's a few things. I did ruin something once, and I was like, it was a hat. And so I was like, okay, I never put in hats in the laundry again with miscolors.
Well, dude, so I threw in my favorite Broncos t-shirt and my favorite Nuggets t-shirt, both white, in with this red t-shirt. Never once in my life have I ever had a shirt bleed into another shirt. I pull these fuckers out, they're pink as hell. They're just bright pink. I was like, you got to be shitting me. So I legitimately ran to the store and I got bleach on the spot. Had to go buy bleach because I was about to put Comet on these shirts, see if that worked. But they said that's not good for shirts. So I went and got bleach. I ran them in 3 straight loads of laundry. They're just pink enough. And honestly, I'm in my mind at this point because to the naked eye, you probably would not even be able to tell. But I'm like, that fucking thing's pink. So I guess that's just part of being an adult. I guess I got to pay attention to the new colors that I have in my color scheme of my wardrobe and not mix them, because my favorite fucking Broncos t-shirt, it's not ruined. Like, I can still wear it and nobody'd really be able to tell, but I'm just going to walk around being like, I fucked this up. This is my fault.
I fucked up. I know I have a pink shirt on. Don't say anything to me.
Correct.
That wraps it up for this week of Big Drive Energy. We appreciate you all tuning in. Hit us with a thumbs up on the way out if you're watching this on the YouTube. Follow us on all the social medias at Big Drive Energy on TikTok and the X, Big Drive Energy Golf on Instagram. Hope you have a great weekend, a great rest of your week, and we will talk to you next week. It's my birthday week next week. Birthday week.
Oh, fuck. I forgot it's your birthday. Once you're that old, nobody cares.
Yeah, 31. This is 31. Nobody cares. All right, everybody have a great week. We'll talk to you then. Peace.
Peace. We all silly like the mayor.